Of people are taking another look at the night sky as they sit home during this pandemic.
Yeah, and those who track UFO sightings say that there's been a noticeable and significant increase in the U.S. and here in Minnesota. We put the Fox 9 investigator team of Tom Lydon and others on the case and discovered more and less that we bargained for.
Sunset brings the stargazers to a cliff overlooking the Minnesota River. A place where you can stare up and wonder, are we really all alone?
Absolutely. I think that the world's too big for there not to be UFOs, actually. I think it's almost impossible for there not to be something out there.
I'm sure that the government knows something, but I feel like right now it's kind of ridiculous.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
It sounds less ridiculous after the Pentagon released classified video earlier this year of Navy jet fighters chasing down an object of unknown origin, moving faster than any known aircraft in ways that seem to defy the laws of physics.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west. Look at that thing, dude.
The Pentagon recently announcing a task force to detect, analyze, and catalog what they now call unidentified aerial phenomena that could potentially pose a threat to U.S. national security.
They're all over the place, I think. You know, you just never really know what you're going to find.
We saw one the other night.
These cliffs are also the perfect scouting location for what may be the most common UFO sighting in Minnesota.
I saw a huge thing of lights in the sky.
A story I first covered 25 years ago. A gigantic and menacing circular object in the night sky, hovering above the western suburbs.
And it was weird, you know. I mean, I can't explain it. I took pictures of it, and
yeah,
you know, I mean, that's that.
At first, but when I saw it, I had to look twice.
We might not be too far from Mystic Lake Casino.
Come to find out, this is a close encounter of the casino kind. The teepee lights from Mystic Lake Casino, reflecting off the clouds.
Whenever we get a case reported to us, I mean, we're always kind of looking at that, you know, is there a nuts and bolts phenomenon here, or is it something else?
Tom Maher is the Minnesota director of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, 4,000 volunteers around the world who track and investigate UFO sightings.
The Mutual UFO Network, known as MUFON.
The group is featured in the Netflix docuseries Hangar One, exploring their archive and database of UFO encounters.
We do have some people with a more scientific background, some people with a military background, and then just your average person, you know, who does their workaday job. And
in Minnesota, MUFON has 80 volunteers who have documented more than 1,200 UFO sightings in the last 20 years, in just about every corner of the state. Sightings have trended up in the last decade, with 2020 on a record pace, with 99 sightings so far. Only 6% of the MUFON cases turn out to be hoaxes. But most, like the lights of Mystic Lake, have perfectly logical explanations.
So a couple months back, we were peaking around 18 to 20 a month, but that was Elon Musk, and he was launching a lot of SpaceX satellites.
Those satellites, known as Starlink, will provide internet service to remote areas. Facebook and other companies are planning to launch thousands of similar satellites into low Earth orbit, filling the sky with potential UFOs.
Sometimes we'll be in a room, a group of people say, well, how many think they've seen something? And most of the hands will go up. How many have reported it? Almost all the hands go down, you know, so.
Is that because they're afraid of ridicule?
I think that's definitely part of it, yeah.
The most notorious UFO encounter in Minnesota belongs to Marshall County Sheriff's Deputy Val Johnson. August 1979. He was on patrol near the North Dakota border when he saw a small bright light, the size of a frisbee, hovering a few feet above the road. A fictionalized version of the encounter became a plot point in the TV show Fargo. Deputy Johnson said the light followed him for 1.5 miles until he heard breaking glass and passed out. He woke to find his eyes burning, the squad stalled, a headlight smashed. There were strange dents in the hood, cracks in the windshield, and the roof and trunk antennas were bent. The car's clock and his wristwatch both stopped for 14 minutes. Deputy Johnson, long retired, declined to talk to us, his daughter-in-law telling the Fox 9 investigators he's tired of talking about the case.
Do you feel like sometimes this experience changes people's lives? Based on what they tell me, it certainly does, so yes. Yeah.
For the better?
Well, that varies from person to person. I mean, some of the cases that we've looked at, people are traumatized by what they've seen.
Like the Minnetonka family, who 7 years ago saw what looked like a giant acorn floating above their house. Later that night, the mother said she woke up in the garage, restrained and probed by an unknown entity.
She said the arms had like 2 or 3 fingers, but the fingers were more claw-like, and where the thumbs would be, they were like long tentacles.
There's the St. Paul family who thought they had a home intruder, only to have their 2.5-year-old son describe in detail a bug-eyed alien.
2.5-year-old, probably an imaginary friend is what they thought.
Another infamous encounter was in Long Prairie back in '65, a 40-foot rocket ship in the middle of the road.
As he gets out and starts approaching it, there's these 3 little entities that he described as being about the size and shape of metal tin cans with 2 legs, kind of awkwardly walking toward him, between him and this rocket.
There's no solid answer. Sorry to say, I don't think it's aliens.
Thaddeus LaCourciere is no stranger to staring at the stars. But the Bell Planetarium's astronomy guru has a more pragmatic explanation for the increase in UFO sightings.
I think some of the best explanations are in the last few months, we've been stuck at home. We've been spending more time outside, hopefully, if you can, where we're getting more used to seeing things that maybe we don't see when we're stuck inside an office every day.
Thanks to the Hubble telescope, we already know what's out there is more wondrous and mysterious than mere flying saucers. An infinitely expanding universe of black holes and dark energy. More than 100 billion stars in our own galactic neighborhood, the Milky Way. And scientists estimate as many as 300 million potentially habitable planets. And here we are, at the edge of a long spiral, a small blue marble circling an average star in a third-ring suburb of space.
As long as people have been around, we've been looking up at the sky. We've been trying to understand what we're seeing. We've been cataloging it. We've been telling stories. And it's such a powerful thing to see. It connects us to something so much more.
UFOs are part of that story. A stab in the dark at a fundamental question that could unite humanity. Are we really, truly, all alone?
This is how we expand more in science. This is how we learn more. We start with crazy ideas and we test them.